Welcome to the State of Our Union, the podcast where real love meets real life. I am your host, Karen Williams, author, speaker, and wife of over 30 years. This is the space for honest conversations around marriage, commitment, conflict, healing, and learning how to choose each other daily. And it's even during the times when life gets heavy, because love isn't just about the vows we take. It's about the work we're willing to do together. Each week, we'll have conversations that inspire, challenge, and remind you that even through loss, disappointment, and change, your relationship can grow stronger. So wherever you're listening from, whether you're driving, cooking, working out, or lying in bed wondering if you're alone in this, just know you're not alone. So take a breath, lean in, and let's talk about the real state of our union. Hello, once again, the state of our union and the fight to keep it. Today we have Heather and Sherman, and I am so excited to have you guys. Sherman and Heather, go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
Oh my goodness.
I'm Sherman.
And I'm Heather.
This Heather.
We have been together about 40 years, 40 years
Okay.
plus. We've been through a lot and we're still here. We're from Florida, been out here in lovely Las Vegas for 30 years, 35 years, something like that. So been members of Canyon Ridge now for 25, since the very beginning. So and Canyon has helped us a lot.
Yeah, that's so cool. So I know being in Las Vegas as long as you guys have, you've seen so many changes. Can't even begin to imagine. We've been out here 21 years. And so we've seen changes. I know you guys have seen so very much. So we're gonna dive into our conversation. We're not trying to hang out. I would love to hang out with you guys all day, but I'm sure you guys have other things to do. So, as you know, the premise of this podcast is really to bring on couples who have, faced challenges, gotten over the other side of it, and able to help younger couples who might find themselves in that position where they say, oh my God, I think I've married the wrong person. How do I get past this? How do I get over this? How do I grow past whatever this is? So I always bring people on that have the experiences, done, seasoned married couples, because hey, Rob and I have been married 33 years, but we don't do everything exactly the way everybody does it. So
Right.
having extra couples come on and share their wisdom is always exciting. I look forward to that for sure. And so I have you guys here, to share as much as you're comfortable with our audience, and we'll jump right in. Now, when I looked at you guys' application, one of the challenges that jumped out for us, and I love how you use one word answers, so it give us the opportunity to really dive in. So I asked, what was one challenge that you guys was able to navigate through and then get on the other side of it? Can you tell us as much or as little as you guys are comfortable with sharing?
Okay, here goes. I learned not to set expectations in your mind, in your fantasy mind, or wherever it comes from. Her and I had been together several years, and we decided to get married. 4 months, 5 months into the marriage, it wasn't anything like what I thought it was going to be. Wisdom, I said, let's get a divorce. And we did. Biggest mistake I've ever made in my entire life. I don't know where my mind was at that time, but I was miserable the whole time we were separate after that. And it took a while for me to figure out, you probably need to be a little bit more flexible about what you feel and what you expect. And once I learned that, things got easy.
Yeah.
Easier.
So,
Yeah.
what I love about what you're sharing there is so many couples deal with that uncertainty in the first couple years of marriage. because we all go into marriage with these list of expectations, and sometimes, sometimes we don't voice them. We just have these expectations randomly as if our spouse is supposed to read our minds. Now, while you were out there miserable, Heather, tell me what was going on for you?
I was miserable too, Karen, but I had to take that time to reflect back on me. Um, Without going into a whole lot of detail, Sherman will tell people the reason he got divorced was because he got stupid. He got stupid, but it was also uh, like a glass of cold water thrown in my face as well. I guess my expectations were that, yeah, it was going to be perfect. And I found myself reflecting on, was I trying to be the woman wanted me to be, the wife that Sherman wanted me to be, the wife that I wanted to be, or the wife he wanted me to be? And it was very sobering for me. Uh, at one point, Sherman and I, even though we got divorced, our son, Sherman, that's the greatest gift Sherman's ever given me, is our son. Um, that kept us kind of seeing each other. When Jay would come back into Los Angeles from being with his mom, uh, Sherman called and said, come on, get together. So again, during that time that we were apart, there was a lot of self-reflection going on my part.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what I'm hearing there, even during that period of separation, instead of focusing on the other person, we focus on ourselves. We figure out, what is it that we really want? Who am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to be doing in this season? How do I come back to the relationship better than I was before?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That's that's a tool right off the bat. We've only been 6.5 minutes into the conversation and you already got a takeaway. Stop focusing on our spouse, focus on ourselves, and then we can show up better in the relationship. So good. Now, when you said, okay, you guys got divorced, then got married.
Mhm.
Tell me, or tell the audience, who does that?
Well, and my parents did that. Okay. Um, so I guess I learned it from them. I don't know. Um, the circumstances behind the divorce, I didn't want it. Sherman did. We went through it. Um,
And didn't hate
I didn't hate
it.
it. Yeah. You know, um, so again, we never really we did separate. I mean, we had separate, tried to have some separate lives, but we just knew that it wasn't meant to be. We weren't meant to be. We were meant to be together. How do we get back together again? So we did get back together again. Um, Sherman asked me to move into our home, and I was kind of the one that said, "Okay, we'll do this, but we got to get married. If we're going to be together for the rest of our lives, which we know that that's what we want, we need to be married, and we need to take the word divorce out of our vocabulary." Yeah.
That part.
So I
So,
think
Sharon,
the difference between the first year that we were married and then second was in the first marriage, we when things would happen, it was, well, let's figure this out and see if we can stay together. In the second marriage, it's, we're together, we're married, let's figure this out. And that was a big part of us.
so it sounds like you guys went in with a different mindset the second time.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, Sherman, tell me a little bit about, so when she laid down, the rules per se, if we're moving back in together, we have to get married. What was your mindset like? Were you open to it right away, or did you did you struggle with that? Tell me a little bit
No,
about that time.
I was open right away. It couldn't come soon enough for me. So I was in a world of hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, one of the things that I notice with new couples is we want what we want, and I say we, lack of a better term, but we want what we want when we go into marriage because we have these ideas of what marriage is supposed to be, and we step into it with, I don't know, again, expectations, not really having a solid foundation. But what I noticed with you guys, you step back into the second half or the second time with some values. You had some convictions going in the second time. Tell me what some of those convictions were. Share that with the audience, what yours were, and Sherman, definitely what yours were.
Karen, during the time when we were coming back together again, um, Sherman literally got down on his knees and asked me to forgive him. And that was very, very humbling me. I never wanted to see my husband like that again. And I knew that part of it was also because of me. Yeah, there was a lot of him, but there was a lot of me in that as well. So again, the conviction was we're going to get married again, and I am going to do what God wants me to do, as a biblical wife. And just changing that focus for me. I know this is repetitive, but just changing that focus for me, that it made all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was so without her that I just couldn't think of anything else. And I made up my mind that we are going to work our way through this no matter what. I had to change my attitude about a lot of things. I had to definitely change my expectation. But, in the end, I knew that she is the woman I wanted for the rest of my life. So that's how it had to be. And I became extremely flexible in my ideas. And once I became that way, became a lot easier.
Yeah. So first deciding, okay, this is somebody that I cannot live without, not just somebody that I'm choosing to live with, but I can't live without this person.
True.
And then going in because we know we may know that we can't live without this person. But once we make the decision that even after the warm fuzzies are gone, the word is going to keep us together, even in those moments where times get a little, it gets a little rough, it gets a little challenging, and we may not like each other today, but we know how to get beyond that. And
That's
so having that foundation in you guys' case, the word of God as your conviction, now you're accountable to something higher and bigger than yourselves.
Definitely. Karen, there's also some medical things going on. My husband is bipolar and ADHD, and I am not.
no.
And um,
Yeah, Heather, I know you're pretty chill.
usually throughout, even during the divorce time and coming back together, Karen was medicated. Um, but we found ourselves in the beginning, um, kind of blaming things on, oh, well, he's bipolar. Well, he's ADHD. He did it. He blamed that, and I blamed that. That was also something that changed in when we came back together again, was, okay. You're bipolar, maybe it's me. I'm not saying get over, but take that excuse away.
Yeah, let's deal with it as it happens.
Yeah,
Tough.
that was tough. That was tough. Um, our son, Jay is not my biological, but he's our son. He learned a lot of that, how to deal with it. Uh,
Same thing.
ADHD and a little bipolar. He learned a lot from us in how we dealt with it. It wasn't this thing anymore that you could use as an excuse to get out of something, or I get angry because I'm bipolar. No, it was like, you know what? I have blue eyes. I can't change that. Okay, let's move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. And so you pretty much force him to not use that as a crutch or an excuse.
Yeah.
We're moving day by day towards this. Now, the thing is, when we talk about medical issues or medical challenges, that's one thing over here by itself, to where you can't excuse that away. You can't, I don't know, you can push, that's one thing, you can push that under the rug. It is what it is. You have to look at it every day,
I have to deal with it.
and deal with that every day. And that takes a decision every single day.
Yeah. It took a lot of courage.
Um, so, all right, Sherman, what does it look like to wake up every day and choose Heather, choosing to be there every single day?
It's wonderful. I mean, I struggle because of the fact that I am bipolar. I have an extremely violent temper, and because of the things that we've chosen to work through, haven't seen that in years. So, yeah, things are great with her.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely tell, because I work with Heather on a regular basis. So I know if anything was going on at home, she wouldn't be able to function the way she functions,
Yeah,
even as we serve together. So that's one of those challenges where you can't just say, all right, let me, I don't know, let's go buy some Tylenol and fix that. It's decision after decision, daily decisions on a regular basis.
Karen, there was also medical help that we got, psychiatric help, coaching counselors, and I'm very proud of my husband. He was open to doing all of those things. I won't say he led the charge, but he very, very open to it. And again, that was very humbling for me, that he felt our relationship was worth going through all that stuff.
Yeah. Sherman, what would you say to, especially talk to the men for a second, because a lot of time the women or the wives are wanting to go for help, seek help, get the counseling. And a lot of guys are like, no, we're good. We can figure this out together. So talk to that young man right now who feel like his wife is just she's just crazy. We don't need any help. We don't need outside help. What would you say to that guy?
the first thing I would say is there's no right and wrong in a relationship like this. Whether you think it is right or wrong, it doesn't really make a difference, because your only objective that you got is to get to the other side and make sure everything's good. So, the biggest thing I would recommend is learn how to be truthful with one another, because your feelings can really, really hide things and cover them up. And it's not necessary, because the person
Yeah.
you're talking to is not the one that's going to talk to you, not the one that's going to.
Wow.
So,
Wow. Because in your in you guys questionnaire, you mentioned be truthful and not protective. Expand on that a little bit, Heather.
Wow. Again, in dealing with Sherman being bipolar, he can be brutally honest, painfully honest, about himself, but also about what I'm doing and how it affects him. And I had to learn how to take that not personally, but if he was going to be vulnerable enough to share those raw emotions with me, I had to be humble enough to listen, absorb it, um, and then come back together again. It's hard. It's hard. It has gotten easier over the years and speak up truthfully. Um, it doesn't get easier. I think you learn to give each other space, to be flexible, and not to take things personally when you're dealing with those kinds of issues.
So don't take don't take this stuff personally. In other words, don't take yourself super serious, right? Create that room, create space for
Yeah.
each of you to just be the human, like embrace the humanness in each other. You're not going to get it perfect. You're not going to get it right every single time. So how do we embrace all of that? Now we're going to shift gears just a little bit. And some of the challenges that I know most couples have, especially in the early years, is money, communication, intimacy. We talked about expectations. What area stretched you guys the most early on? And tell me why that was.
We didn't have a lot of financial problems in the beginning, but we sure had a heck of a time trying to figure each other out.
Communication.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
communication.
there again, you have all these expectations and the way you think the person should react to what you do, and when she doesn't, it's like, whoops, you know, and turned into several different situations. But now, whoops, we need to stop and see what we can do and figure this out to get to the other side yet.
The money side of things, yeah, again, divorced, married, and that kind of stuff. There wasn't a time when Sherman or I weren't afraid to talk about money with each other. Uh, and there was never a breadwinner, therefore you have to do what I say. Uh, there were times, a lot of times when I was the breadwinner or made more money than my husband. Um, Sherman, it didn't bother him. He was very proud of me. So we worked through, I wish the communication that we had over money had translated into other areas of our relationship in the beginning. It didn't. And that's probably because we weren't babies when we got together the first time. We were late 20s. I was late 20s. He was early 30s. We'd been married previously. So those kinds of issues we knew how to deal with. But again, that communication side of it, it goes hand in hand with the expectation. Intimacy, that was fine. And we can communicate on that very well. I think that's important too. We were able to tell each other, what pleased each other. We were able to ask each other for what pleasured, each other. So those things, but the communication side of it was the most difficult part.
Yeah, just getting your point across without feeling, I mean, yes, we should feel vulnerable, but it's that fear of vulnerability and, well, what is he going to think of me or what is she going to think of me and, all of those things. And so I know a lot of times, couples go into for some reason we think that those things are just going to fall into place without having conversation about them,
Yeah.
and that's one of the struggles
Yeah.
that I do see. I do see couples, struggling through, like, how do I show up as my full self in this relationship? So as you know, as you guys run into, I know over time you guys have gotten the chance to sit down with other couples and have conversations with them, or you've run into, just couples out and about. Um, what do you see as one of the top struggles that they're facing in these days and times?
Probably the biggest thing that we see in the people we know is one or the other either thinks it's all about them rather than it's about us. After you get past that point, things work a lot easier. There again, the being flexible, talking about things.
I One of the things that I see too, Karen, is couples that don't develop friendships outside of their marriage, and that kind of again goes to expectations, expecting that your spouse is going to meet every need that you have. And number one, I mean, if you just think about that, that's putting a whole lot of burden on that other person. So I encourage men and women to have good friendships outside of your relationship with your spouse. We have several couple friends that we feel comfortable enough to share things when they're going on with us. We have a couple of friends that are not necessarily a couple, together, but Sherman knows my friend. I know his friends. Um, that doesn't mean I necessarily want to hang around with his friends, but he wants to hang around with mine. But there's no secrets there. It's like, hey, I'm going to go have lunch with Evelyn. I'll see you in a couple, 3 or 4 hours. He knows who Evelyn is. He's not questioning it. Um, and I need that, and now he needs that. He went out to breakfast this morning with a friend of his. So I think that's important is to have an outside support system. Yeah. Not saying you're going to share all of the intimate things in your marriage with your friends, because I don't think you're doing that.
I don't agree with that either.
Okay. But to have other interests, perhaps your spouse is involved in, that's been a good thing for us.
Yes. Yes. And it's so important that you bring up that point because as individuals we both came to the marriage with ideas and we both came to the marriage with different perspective about different things and we can't like you said your spouse is not your all in all and requiring that of them is like again so just reiterating what you're saying, so much pressure on that one person. And so if you and I are able to establish healthy relationships outside of our marriage relationship, interests outside of that, because it's so much fun also, I think that um if you are able to introduce your spouse to something that you are doing, whatever that interest might be, I remember the other day when we all got together and Sherman, we looked up and Heather coming in on a motorcycle and we're like, wait a minute now.
We've been
So
running a long time.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I got questions,
Yeah.
you know, and it's to me, you talked later on how you guys go riding sometimes, and that's something that you enjoy together. But at the same time, you were hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Sherman was not there. We were just all hanging out, having our good food, good. Yes. Good food, good wine, and talk about how to serve better.
Yeah.
And again, none of our spouses was there. Rob wasn't there. Sherman wasn't there. Sheena's husband wasn't there. Mark's wife wasn't there. So the point there is we all serve together in this area of ministry that fulfills us. It's just us,
Yes.
and
Yes.
we're able to show back up in our marriage better for it because, again, we have interests outside of our marriage relationship. I am not dependent on Rob to be my all in all. I got other things to do, you
Karen,
know.
Sherman asked me, how many years, a long time ago, whatever the argument was, I don't remember. He looked at me and said, I don't know how to make you happy, or I can't make you happy. My response was, you're right. You can't make me happy. I'm trying to. Again, that was an aha moment, I think, for both of us. You can't make the other person happy. And you allow the other person, and Sherman's very supportive of me and very supportive of him, allow your spouse to be able to have those other interests. Doesn't mean that you have to go with them to, the women's coffee club, or whatever it is. But giving them space to be able to do that is important.
Yeah, so the thing is, I think some couples, end up feeling so so broken and so disappointed because they got married with the expectation that their spouse would show up and be their all in all and be their everything. And that
Yeah,
is so dangerous because you each trying to figure out even your own identity in the midst of being a newlywed. You're trying to figure out, like, all right, I know I got married, but what is this supposed to look like? What am I, how am I supposed to be showing up, and that kind of thing. And so that's such a good point you brought up, that yes, you need to have healthy relationships outside of your marriage relationship so that you're not expecting your spouse to fulfill every part of you. But before we had our technical difficulty there, you mentioned that Sherman said to you that, hey, he's not able to make you happy. And Rob and I had a similar conversation probably around year 5 or year 6. And I remember saying to him, I think I just figured it out. You can't make me happy.
right.
And it was almost like the brother took a breath, like, whew, like,
Yeah,
not trying to. you
Uh,
yeah,
know but that's why I think it's so important that we each individually have not only our own relationships outside of the marriage, but also our own relationship with God, or whoever you call your higher power. Those of you who are not believers, you
definitely.
gotta have that connection to something bigger than yourselves.
Definitely. I don't think that Sherman's and my walk with God is exactly the same. Would you?
no, not at all.
And that's okay. And again, giving each other the space to be able to do that. Uh, we don't drag each other up or down. It's up to the individual.
Yeah, but if we didn't have that relationship with God, it would have been a lot tougher to work ourselves through it.
Yeah.
We can always turn and stop and pray. So it's good to go.
Yeah, that's so good. All right, so we're gonna take a little detour here. One of the challenges that you mentioned in your paper, in your on your application was um and before I say that, you talk as little about it or as much about it as you want. But there was a challenge that you both faced, and Heather, you chose to stay. So you decide between the two of you who wants to attempt that one and how much of it you want to share. I'll let you tell the story.
Do you know what we're talking about? I
I'm
do.
not
I
real
do.
sure.
Right. Right. Um, my husband decided to go down a path that I didn't necessarily support. Um, we, even though I didn't support it, I still supported him. He ended up getting into trouble with the law and took a vacation to California for 11 months, courtesy of
Okay.
law enforcement. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It was during that time that, honestly, Karen, I think our relationship got stronger. We were forced, we didn't have to, but we were forced to put into writing things that that we wanted to write or the way to communicate. I went to see him, and again, seeing him so vulnerable and so apologetic was like, we can get through this. It would have been really easy for me just to say, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna do this anymore. Um,
I'm glad you didn't.
well, and I'm glad I didn't get
I'm
close.
glad you didn't either.
Yeah. So there's there's a lot. If someone wants to play Can You Top This, I think Sherman and I can win every single time because there's just been so much that we've been through. But again, we would make the decision prior. Divorce was not on the table. So
I'm gonna interrupt you just a second there. I keep hearing you say that each time you took divorce off the table, and
yep.
that's the key there. You make a decision going in, and so young couples, I would say, if you learn nothing else from Heather and Sherman today, is make the decision before going in that divorce is off the table.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That way you can show up even in those moments where your spouse's humanness is being challenged.
Mm-hmm. Karen, it gave us, even though it was hard to do that,
Yes.
it also gave us the freedom to be able to speak honestly with each other without that, oh my gosh, he's going to leave or I'm going to leave, whatever it was. So it sounds like it's not that big of a deal. It was huge. It was really huge. And even though society doesn't support that, I mean, there's everywhere. If you don't want the color of their hair, you can leave. It's not a big deal. You don't file divorce, all of that kind of stuff. That's not what God said.
Yep. 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 Sherman, I just thinking about you being that vulnerable in those moments. It Vulnerability and guys don't often go together, you know. But there's something about you that says, I want to stay in this marriage. I want to love this woman. I'm going to keep choosing this woman day after day. How do you communicate that in just regular everyday language to that one guy who's saying, I am tired, I can't do this anymore, I'm done, because and I know you use the word flexibility a lot. Tell me what else, comes up for you when you start thinking about all of the challenges that you guys have faced
Yeah.
together.
Well, when I'm talking to somebody about it, especially to a guy that just must have doesn't know what he really wants to do, I say, so who's going to do your laundry, Mom? Who's going to cook for you? Who's going to help you through those hard times?
Yeah.
You're going to be on your own, crying by yourself. You need to think about what you're thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about when you were on vacation? No. Okay.
No,
Okay.
don't care for.
That's fine. That's fine.
But the thing is that I'm here in partnership. What'd you say,
Yeah.
Sherman? Go ahead.
Yeah, it was not an enjoyable
When
vacation.
you heard of that time, it's on vacation in California for a long time.
And all men.
That's got to be a challenging season, and it's I've seen marriages break apart and dissolve for less than that. So that is no minor thing. Being incarcerated is not a walk in the park, and I know you guys making fun of it, but we know that's not no, that's not an easy decision. I'm sure during that season you were getting up every day for that 11 months, choosing him every single day.
Yeah. Karen, so the other part, when we talked earlier about having a relationship outside of your marriage,
Yeah,
that's when you find out who your friends are.
exactly.
Family for me is not here in Las Vegas. Sherman and I are out here. Our son is out here, but we don't have any other family out here. So there wasn't family to lean on. Uh, And again, I had friends that I lost. I had friends that couldn't un that got closer, and I had friends that are not friends anymore, and understand why I put up with that or decided to stay. Those in retrospect, looking at those particular acquaintances, I'm gonna say they weren't very happy themselves. And again, I think that's something too for me. Sherman can't make me happy. I'm the only one that can do that. And you said I would get it every what do I have to do for me? What I do for marriage.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is there, you said, I know for a fact especially as married couples, we have to be so discerning of who we allow into our marriages,
Yes.
as whether they're friends or family, who we allow to, for us to pour into, or pour into us.
There are still, I would call them friends. There are still friends in our lives that don't go that hard, that we knew before that happened. But again, that that shows you that when you have an intimate relationship with them, I won't say it was superficial, but it was also there was no need to share that part of our lives with them, and
Yeah.
that's okay.
And that's okay. That's okay. Yeah. And the thing is, when you go through, and this is for that what one couple who is listening right now, when you're going through those challenges, you're always going to have someone that can come alongside you and say, you know what, you need to walk away, you need to leave him, don't put up with that foolishness, forget it,
Yeah,
you're treating yourself like a doormat. Where's your self-worth, where's your value, and all of those
yeah,
different things. On the flip side of that, you'll still have that one friend that will tell you, what is God telling you to do right now? What is the word
yes,
telling you to do right now? And we have to know when to embrace that information. Like they say, what is it? Chew up the meat and spit out the bones.
yeah, yeah,
You gotta know when to receive that information and when to reject it. Because I know people that have miserable marriages, they will tell you all of the stuff that they're dealing with. I want you to align your marriage with theirs. But hey, your marriage is between you and your spouse and God. And you and I
yeah,
have to have that, what's the word? We have to have that, that discernment
discernment.
to be able to say, yes, I'm receiving from this person, or no, I'm not receiving from this person. God, this is not what I'm hearing you say, and being able to make that, those healthy decisions for you and you alone. Yeah, that's so good. That's so good in the sense of on so many levels. But I hear what keeps coming up in my mind about you guys' relationship is the love and perseverance, because without that, you had nothing. The first, the making the decision that, hey, everything, I don't care what's going on, divorce is off the table. And then being able to walk that out, showing up in the hard times, not only when times are going great. You
Yeah,
mentioned that money was not even an issue for you guys, but and some people really think that money will answer all of their problems. But you guys have proven, yeah, money may not have been an issue, but other things were. And
yes,
making the hard decision that, hey, I am going to stick around. I am going to walk through this season with my spouse, with my partner. Those things have to be established ahead of times. And I think some couples are going in with the mindset that, hey, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Not if you have not made the decision ahead of time.
right, right. And that's again, that's what we have learned over the years, is going into you're not gonna experience everything, okay? Or you're not gonna have the previous experience. So when something comes up that we've never experienced before, and this was one of them, talk about it. There was a lot of talking going on, whether it before it happened or before he left. in writing letters to each other during the visits, just being honest. I was scared. I was scared. He was scared. We were both scared. Um, he was again. I'm very proud of him for him to be able to say, "I'm scared. I'm sorry. Forgive me, and let's keep working this out."
Yeah.
Love is not a noun. Love is a verb, and you have to show that love.
And I keep, one of the things that's keep coming up for me with Sherman, it didn't matter what else was going on. Sherman, I think it's your determination to be able to say, I'm going to my wife and I'm going to ask for her forgiveness. I am going to admit what I did was wrong. And hey, this is who I am. Let's work through this thing together. And I think for a lot of spouses, I don't think they're willing to humble themselves and, like the word you keep using, be flexible enough to, hey, let me show up in this vulnerable state so that we can work on this together.
Yeah, there's not a lot of things that I would like to take on without Heather.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. All right. Oh my. Okay. So instead of me keeping you guys here all day, one final question that I will throw at you to kind of wrap all this up. What's one thing you wish someone had told you sooner in your marriage? Like, going back, because you guys been together 40 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
40 years.
That's 40 years. That's a whole lifetime. But in the early years, what is one thing or a couple of things that you wish somebody had sat down and say, hey, do this before you get married?
Well, for me, I wish somebody would have sat me down and said, look, before you open your mouth, you need to think about what's really going on, because how you respond to a situation or whatever is can make a huge difference. And I didn't respond the right way all the time, but I've learned now that I think about it before I say it, because the result of you being anything less than yourself is not workable.
Karen, I think for me, I think again, it's someone. If someone had said to me from the very beginning, he's not going to make you happy. You have to have that yourself. There's a difference between happiness and joy. I had that joy inside, but do not expect Sherman to be the one that's going to make you happy all the time.
What keeps coming up what I see coming up between both of you too is the humor.
Oh my gosh, Karen, that
Oh my gosh. You have to, girl, we cannot be taking each other so seriously. Humor
all the
is
time.
huge.
Yeah, we make each other laugh often.
Actually, Sherman makes me laugh probably more than I'm laugh, whether it's intentional or not. But yeah, that's also one of the things that has been really important is just feeling comfortable enough with each other to just laugh. I mean, sometimes it's like even in the middle of an argument, take a deep breath and we'll look at each other. It's like, what are you doing? And then you
How
start
stupid
laughing.
is
How
this?
stupid is this? Start laughing about it. You know,
It's a great
that's
way to end an argument.
yeah, it's important.
That's so good. That is so good. Oh my goodness. So we are out of time, but I just want to say thank you guys so very much for sitting down, taking time to actually have this hard conversation, sharing your story with me and with the audience. Until next time, thank you for listening to The State of Our Union and the Fight to Keep It. Thanks, Sherman and Heather.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you for spending this time with me on the State of Our Union. My hope is that today's conversation gave you something to reflect on, something to talk about, and maybe even something to try in your own relationship. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone you love or someone who needs to hear it. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss a conversation. Remember, strong relationships aren't built on perfection. They're built on intention, honesty, and the daily decision to choose each other. Until next time, guard your heart, nurture your love, and keep investing in the state of your union.